welcome to this edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, your host, and if you're a newsie like myself, then this one is for you. I will tell you, as we all know, local newspapers are shrinking by the day. Unfortunately, staffs are being let go. It's a purge, and frankly, they're going the way of the dinosaur. However, picking up the slack and adding more hours each day to their coverage are local television stations. Most local television stations now average over 6 hours a day of local news coverage. They also have jumped into the fray when it comes to streaming video. Over 350 television stations now can be accessed on everything from your phone to your tablet to connected devices like Roku, Amazon's Fire Stick, and of course, Apple TV. Now, why? Well, it's important to get local news, and we all enjoy it. As I said, if you're newsy like myself, you really want to watch local news, not only in your own town, but you want to check in and get a feel for what it's like around the country. You've never been able to do that before, and you can now. The streaming of local news is probably one of the biggest draws out there in the streaming world. And one reason for that is because we all want to know what is going on in our community. And as I said before, get a sample of what's going on in communities around the country where we either have a certain interest or, for whatever reason, we like to sample local news. As I said, if you're a news junkie like me, that's what I love to do. Okay? Well, to that point, we have with us Joseph Dunn. Now, Joseph is the head of promotions for ABC7 News, an outstanding operation, part of the great television chain. They serve the Tampa-St. Petersburg, Sarasota area. And Joseph, there's never been a better time to be in the local news business, my friend.
Absolutely. Like you said, it is a wonderful space to be in. And, we want to make sure that we are able to get our content anywhere that users can access it. So, streaming is an important part of our business model. So right now we're currently available on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, as well as mysuncoast.com/live stream. We want to make sure that people want to see content from the Suncoast, that we can be where they are. So, we focus heavily on that live stream product, so that we can maximize, the content that we distribute to our viewership. So, one thing that we do, basically our live stream is like a second channel. So, since we're a network affiliate, we don't have the right to network programming on a live stream. So we've created a complete schedule of content specifically for the live stream. So if someone were to log on to the live stream, they can see like a full channel, of different programming from our main air.
So basically you're running a duplicate channel that gives you 24/7 coverage, and it's live for the news whenever the news comes up.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a fine idea, as a matter of fact. I will tell you that some of the larger stations have not, gone to that kind of concept, which I frankly think is a big mistake. I think you guys are ahead of the curve on that.
Yeah, I know a lot of our sister stations, basically have video on demand, and then when the news is on, then they have their live stream. So it's not a continuous channel like ours is. So we have more than 1 million downloads currently of our OTT app, which is over the top app. So we have more than 1 million downloads, a heavy presence on Amazon Fire, but we also have a large following on Roku and Apple TV. But it seems to be the way to go. So we traffic commercials in the same way. We schedule programs in the same way. So, we treat it as a secondary channel altogether.
It's funny because obviously I've got it on Roku and on Amazon. So I've got you both places. So you're good to go there. One of the other things, and we've talked about this, you and I, the lack these days of depth of coverage in local newspapers because of the, basically the hemorrhaging of cash uh, for local newspapers has put it on an amazing burden now. And not necessarily burden, let's call it an opportunity, I guess would be a better way of putting it, for local stations to really jump in and fill that void. And now, as we said, with the fact that I literally can take you in my pocket and watch ABC7 from anywhere in the country or the world, it gives you a really good ability to fill that void that is no longer there with the local newspaper.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with us being in this community, we are able to use the resources that we have to hyper focus on local coverage and expound upon it as necessary. So we are able to dive deep into the stories that matter to our audiences. And the fact that we live in an area where the population is pretty transient, during the winter months, our population typically doubles. Outside of that time, we have a large following of people that are still concerned with the issues that are happening here. So, we strive to be the primary source of information for people on the Sun Coast and Sarasota and Manatee counties. And, we use all the resources available to us to make sure that happens. Digital is, one of those resources. So we want to make sure that, we're able to extend, whatever we cover, across all platforms.
Talk for a minute about digital. How closely do you work with the digital team? I assume very closely.
Yeah, nowadays, I came from a station in Charlotte, a former Raycom station, and where I was digital marketing manager. So, during my time there, I spent, most of my day working in the digital realm. So when I came here, I've worked pretty closely with the digital team. So we have a digital content team and a digital sales team. But as far as content is concerned, I primarily promote, our available offerings. So that's pretty much my role as far as that's concerned. So we have a promotion strategy for social media. We have a promotion strategy that's dedicated directly to our live stream, and then we do in newscasts promotion of our live stream also. So, the way that things are now, we all work pretty closely together. So we don't operate in silos. So marketing works very closely with news. With the digital component of news, there's also a huge marketing component. So I work really closely with, both digital sales and digital content.
Talk about the dedication to local news. Now, you guys go. Give me what a day is like, news-wise, on ABC7.
Okay, typically what we do, early in the morning, we have a staff that comes in overnight and collects all the information that happened overnight, and then things that are breaking news and previews to things that might be happening later in the day, and then around 10 o'clock, our news staff gathers to discuss relevant topics of that particular day, to start strategizing, their coverage plan. So, we get all our reporters, producers, and news leaders together to talk about what the day is going to look like and what might be the most important topics and angles to cover for our viewers. So, we prepare all that for noon in our early evening newscast, and then the team reconvenes with some separate producers and reporters in the early afternoon, to start discussing our coverage strategy for later in the day. So, pretty much around the clock we have, we're discussing content and discussing strategy. We get source information from local organizations and in the form of press releases, as well as our reporters going out and, talking to, people in the community in order to dig out stories to pitch. So,
sure.
It's top of mind for us. Sarasota and Manatee County, because we're the only only high-powered TV station that focuses on Sarasota and Manatee counties. We have good relationships with the community. So anytime anything happens, then we're notified, typically notified first, and we hyper focus, on coverage in this area.
Let me ask you this: you guys come on the air at. I believe it's 5. Is your first newscast at 5?
Yeah, first newscast starts at 5 a.m.
Okay, so then you go 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. and then pick up GMA?
Yeah, we pick up GMA, and we do cut-ins throughout GMA.
Sure. And then when you come back at 9 o'clock, what happens?
At 9 o'clock, between 7 and 9, we have our production staff, prepare
Mm-hmm.
the set for Suncoast View, and the producers and the talent at Suncoast View start reviewing the plan for
Right.
that day. And usually the plan was devised days in advance. So the executive producer of the show typically creates a schedule and starts looking at like the rundown, days in advance of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of get all our ducks in a row before 9 o'clock, and then at 9 o'clock, we go live with Suncoast View.
So after that, again, you're back at what, 11? Or I'm sorry,
We're
noon?
we're back again at noon.
And that goes from noon to 1 or noon to 12:30?
It goes noon to 1.
Okay. So then you come back at 4, and you've got a block that goes, if I'm not mistaken, of news from 4 to 8. And in that 4 to 8 is the ABC news, I assume at 6:30, right?
Yes. So we take a brief break at 4:30, and we run some syndicated programming to prepare for the 5. So we have our reporters out in the field, and they're prepared to be live at 4 o'clock, for whatever stories that we're covering that day. So yeah, it's we're constantly focused on not only covering, but digging into the stories that we cover, and flushing out all the angles that we can possibly flush out. So we're constantly thinking about these stories all day long.
And then you come back at 11, and it's 11 to 11:30.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that's a substantial amount of time of local news. And I think that one of the things you guys are doing, which I'm seeing other stations do, because, two things. The price of syndicated television is astronomical.
Yes.
But with the overabundance now of cable, the chances of you taking, back in the day would be normally a network station like yourself would take and do news up until 7 o'clock. Then at 7 o'clock, you'd run maybe The Big Bang Theory or Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy or something like that until 8 o'clock, whenever the network would pick up. You guys have claimed that time back, and many of stations have done it, and realized, what? Why are we paying, these astronomical dollars for something that somebody could be watching on TBS, if they really wanted to see it? Why don't we reclaim that hour and use it for news? And it seems to me that that's been something that other stations around the country have done, and I think it's a very smart move.
Yeah, exactly. We have the resources in place to create this local content, and there's an appetite for it. So people want this local content. So one of the benefits is that we keep all the inventory. We're able to format the shows without any with any obligation to syndicators. So it's our own product that we have the resources to produce. So it just makes sense to go to take advantage of that time slot.
Stream On will continue after this from BMW, makers of the i3, the ultimate electric driving machine.
Life is about making decisions. At BMW i, we decided it was time to reinvent the car from the ground up, making sure we were open for truly innovative ideas. We decided that the car we wanted must be electric, and it should be made of extremely light and super strong carbon fiber. And finally, we decided to make it more intelligent and added our promise of incomparable driving pleasure. We made all these decisions to offer you a choice. The all-electric BMW i3.
Welcome back to Stream On. So let's talk now about where we're going in the future with this. Do you foresee, like you said, the programming of local on your digital channel? Do you see that that's something that will probably become the norm as opposed to the exception as we move forward?
Yeah, absolutely. As digital continues to integrate with broadcast, I think that we'll see some new broadcast standards in the future that involve more interactivity. So, we're all aware and preparing to respond to those changes. So I think it only gets better. I think that, access to local content, becomes greater, for a person that's seeking that type of content, and then the things that we're capable of doing with that content, will increase in the future too. So it's an exciting time. I mean, I kind of equate it to, the digital conversion that happened back in 2009. Now, think, TV was done in the same way for decades, and then all of a sudden, broadcast standards changed, and I think that we're approaching a similar type of shift, in the near future here. So there's a lot of talk in the industry about, what we can do with digital. And I know that as infrastructure expands and, with the emergence of 5G and, new broadcasting standards, I think that digital will play a bigger role in, our content, the content we provide, the content that we cover, and, the way that people consume the content.
It's funny, right now, with what we've done here at Stream On, we've had a lot of conversations. And most of those conversations focused around the fact that the trend at this point is, we know that there's cord cutters, but the larger group is the cord nevers. Mm-hmm. And these are people who have been watching content on their tablets, their phones, and their computers, and really haven't spent a lot of time, they have a big monitor, it could be a 55-inch monitor or whatever, but for all intents and purposes, they use it to watch Netflix and maybe something else, maybe Amazon Prime. The movement from cable to OTT has mm-hmm. been a dramatic and very, lucrative shift. Funny thing, this past week, ESPN noted that they've added 4.5 million new subscribers in mm-hmm. the last 3 months as they start offering other options. I think that one of the most important things now for local news operations, you guys are ahead of the curve on this one, is to offer the online version so that the cord nevers, or in this case, the folks who watch on multiple screens, don't have to not have access to local news or have to have some sort of antenna, which never actually works, but they always tell you they do type situation mm-hmm. to reach the signal. You don't need that anymore. And I think that's really a very important, very logical next step.
Yeah, exactly. I think that one of the things that I didn't mention, the fact that we have our own live stream, and something that we devote a lot of our attention and resources towards is important. But we're also a part of several skinny bundle packages for places like YouTube TV and DirecTV now and mm-hmm. and other exclusively OTT products that are out right. there. So it's another way for us to put ourselves in front of our audience. And the greatest thing about local TV is that, like, especially in time of emergency, it's like, we become very relevant to our audience. So one instance in Irma, we watched all of our digital activity spike from people locally and people outside of the area, because that hurricane had a bullseye on the Suncoast area. So, when that happened and people had the demand for local content increased pretty significantly, and we saw that in our numbers. But we also reflected that in our coverage. So we made sure that we provided as much information as we possibly could, any information that we had to that particular audience, and we wanted to make sure then that we were accessible in any way that we could possibly be accessible. So there are a lot of opportunities in terms of streaming where from the skinny bundles to our own properties and and maybe some others in the future that where we can be accessible to our audiences.
Right. And the other thing that I think is important as well is that the ability to be able to, I don't know if you've done it, folks, but if you haven't, Roku has a wonderful application. It's called News Now and News On. And mm-hmm. You're on that. And if you're a news geek like myself, it's a wonderful thing to have, because you literally can go state to state, city to city, and watch every possible newscast you may wish to watch for instance, the other night, I decided, okay, well, the polar vortex is about to crush, Minnesota and Chicago and much of the Midwest. And I went to watch KSTP in Minneapolis and went on to WBBM Chicago, which is CBS over there, Channel 2, and kind of follow the weather pattern all the way through. And basically, also the other day prior to Super Bowl, I watched some of the news from Los Angeles and Boston as they got ready for the game. It really lets you take national stuff and take it to a local basis. And I think, frankly, and I know you guys are ahead of the curve when it comes to politics, I honestly believe as the 2020 race comes about, you're going to be able to go local news throughout the entire United States and get a feel for what each candidate, how they're doing in, starting with Iowa and going to South Carolina and then moving over to California. And you're going to have a lot of opportunity to use this both on a sports level, on a political level, and get to know what's going on and really get a feel for what the country is all about in a way like we've never been able to do before.
Yeah, absolutely. News On, is a product that we've been on for a while, and I think that several of our sister stations also have been. It's a way not only to get information, if you're a consumer, but it's also a way for others in the industry to see what you're doing. It's a pretty tight knit community. I know we spoke yesterday about how small the world of TV news is. There's not a whole lot of separation, and so we share ideals from time to time. So I'm able to see what they're doing in Boston or in, my former market of Charlotte and some other places, the Carolinas, California, and kind of see what they're doing and see how they're covering things and, not only take ideas, but also take content. If there's something that they have that we would like access to that might be relevant to our audience here on the Suncoast, then, it presents another opportunity for us to see the content that they're producing as well as, we're more easily able to share content. So, in this digital age, people, have a demand for, as much information as they can possibly access. And they want it quick. They want it fast. They want, relevant information to them. And it's like, now that we're, the live stream allows us to get in more places, but we also are able to access information, in a lot of different ways from other places. So, it kind of shrinks the world in a lot of ways.
But in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. Yeah, we're definitely a lot more connected than we ever have been. One interesting thing about our live stream, I know, we collect numbers on a weekly basis, and we found that we had viewers, in other countries. We had a large following in Japan and in Canada, and I think the seasonality of our market, draws a lot of attention, and people want to see, how different the world looks, when it's here. Than in the rest of the world. I know when it's snowing in Wisconsin, it's nice for people that are, that have some connection to this area, to see, people out boating and see, sunny skies and, so, it's definitely a good thing, for us to be more connected.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joseph, I really appreciate you joining us today. Why don't you tell people how they can watch WWSB, ABC7 out of the Tampa-St. Petersburg, Sarasota area, and how we can find you on. You said you can download it on the on Roku, on Fire Stick, on Apple TV, and whatever other platforms you want folks to check out to get a better feel for what you've got there at ABC7.
Yeah, absolutely. You can live stream us on your apps on Google or iPhone. You can go to mysuncoast.com, and we have an app section where you can find information on downloading those apps, or you can search us. Type in My Suncoast or WWSB ABC7 in the search bar, and you'll find us right there.
Many thanks to Joseph Dunn from ABC7 on the Suncoast for joining us today. We'll be back with more of Stream On right after this from BMW, makers of the i3, the ultimate electric driving machine.
Life is about making decisions. At BMW i, we decided it was time to reinvent the car from the ground up, making sure we were open for truly innovative ideas. We decided that the car we wanted must be electric. And it should be made of extremely light and super strong carbon fiber. And finally, we decided to make it more intelligent and added our promise of incomparable driving pleasure. We made all these decisions to offer you a choice. The all-electric BMW i3.
Welcome back, everybody, to this edition of Stream On. Now, if you have not yet become one of over 60,000 people who subscribe to the podcast, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, we make it easy to do. We are free. You can find us at the Apple Podcast Store, as well as Google Podcast. You can find us on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, as well as TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, and many other places. If you happen to have a connected device like Siri, Alexa, or Google, all you have to do is say, hey, Siri, or Alexa, or Google, please play the latest edition of Stream On with Jim Williams, and guess what? They will do it for you. You don't even have to search. But what we do ask you to do is hit the favorite button or the subscribe button, because each week that will mean you'll get a brand new edition of the show sent directly to your tablet, your cell phone, or hopefully to both. So please do that today. We would greatly appreciate it. Okay, speaking of greatly appreciating things, we'd like to greatly appreciate and thank our good friend Joseph Dunn from ABC7 down there on Florida Suncoast. They have an outstanding app and great operation. Check them out, and be sure to check out all of the local news operations around the country. They need your support. And I got to tell you, if you find something on cable news on a national basis that is of interest to you, by all means, check it out on a local basis. You'll get a whole new perspective and a great deal more information on what's going on from the local news operations than you will ever get from the cable operations, okay? So by all means, check out your local news. And if you get a chance, for sure, check out the folks at ABC7 on the Sun Coast. All that information is in our show box. Okay, next week, we're going to have a special guest, and that, of course, is Shane Allen, head of comedy for the BBC. I got to tell you, that's they have some outstanding comedies out there right now. Hold the Sunset being one, which we know debuted. We talked to all the gang from there. John Cleese, of course, starring in Hold the Sunset, which you can find on BritBox. And Mum, another BritBox comedy, as well as a new one coming out called There She Goes. We'll talk to him about that. We're also going to talk to some of the cast members in later shows. But next week, it's Shane Allen from the BBC talking comedy. All right? Until next time, I'm Jim Williams. For all of the team here at Stream On, we wish you all the best. We will talk to you next week. Have a wonderful and safe week.